Hello. Okay, so we're gonna be building a chat app using Bun. So I've been reading a lot about Bun recently, and I've actually been tracking their repo since they were in beta, and they just released the full production-ready release. And also, I've never worked with WebSockets, so this would be a good opportunity to really work with WebSockets and with Bun to build some sort of chat app. Um, so I'm just gonna be learning along with you, and if you're expecting to know like everything to be ready, then this isn't really it. This is more of a kind of discovery journey together. We can learn things, and you probably, hopefully, can learn a few things as well along the way with me. Um, so if you don't know what Bun is basically a runtime, kind of a replacement for Node. I wouldn't say a replacement because it's kind of built on top of a lot of things that Node did, but it is in a way a runtime for JavaScript, right? So it uses the JavaScript. Oh, sorry, it uses the WebKit from Safari instead of V8 from Chrome. So Node is basically built on top of V8, which is the Chrome JavaScript runtime. They just extracted it and they put it into this Node runtime. What Bun did instead is it uses Safari instead, and it's built with Zig. I don't think it's the main thing is the actual runtime like Safari versus Chrome. That's why it's faster. It's just it was built from the grounds up to be performant. So it's really performant. It's really fast, and well, we're gonna see. Everything is way faster. And I've worked a lot with Node. We've built a lot of apps, and as things grow in complexity, it becomes really slow. Uh, I know some people use PNPM, some people use Yarn, and they say it's faster in certain things like installing packages and package management. But I think it's not only that. Like I still use NPM in most of my projects. Sometimes I use Yarn, and maybe it's just a force of habit. I don't know, but I got frustrated with it, and now I want to see what Bun can offer. So let's get started. We're gonna build something like a chat app. So the idea here is a lot of the times, we have on-premise services and then there's on-cloud services, right? So you have WordPress with WooCommerce, let's say, to do an e-commerce, right? But you host it yourself. And then you have Shopify on the other hand, which is hosted on the cloud and you just pay a subscription fee. The same goes for, WordPress itself, like a website or a blog site. And then you have Squarespace or Wix, where you can pay and you can, they host it for you in a multi-tenant architecture. But then on WordPress, you host it yourself and you have to manage everything yourself if you want to do that, right? So there's a lot of services where you have these two kind of polar opposites. So the idea that I can think of is, and it might not be viable just for the training or to learn, but it's basically the idea is, you have Slack and Discord, which is all on the cloud and you just pay for it and everything. So what if we make some sort of self-hosted chat service, right? And you can invite users to it using their email or phone number or whatever, and then they just join you in this your own hosted data, your own hosted chat service, kind of like Slack or Discord. But then you can manage that database, you can manage your backups, you can do whatever you want with it. It's good for enterprises that want to look into, let's say, enterprises that care about data security and having their own data and stuff like that. I know someone who used to work at Apple, and they say that they never use any service that has, that they can't access data. Basically, the service owns the data for them. So, some enterprises like that have specific security requirements, this might be something that works. There could be a service already out there that does the exact same thing. I'm not sure, but the idea is that we want to learn, so might as well learn something. So we'll build something using Bun. So I'm just gonna make a folder called Bun Chat. Okay, and then we're gonna drag it into our VS Code. So we're just gonna do a bit of a cleanup and a build, kind of the base. Pull that up here on the full screen. Okay, so what I'm gonna be doing is I'm building kind of a monorepo. So there's a lot of ways you can do this. Again, the way I'm thinking of this is we can do a monorepo. And in this monorepo, we're gonna have 3 folders. So we're gonna have, let's say, front end. Do front end. And we'll also do back end. And that backend should be a separate folder. And we can probably create a database folder. So the database folder is really, it's just to host our development data, okay? So what I'm gonna be doing later is instead of installing Postgres, I'm just gonna be using Docker to get Postgres up and running, and then we're just gonna hook up the volume up. And the idea here is just hosting the data basically, so that if Docker container restarts, then we have the data stored. But in production, obviously, you're gonna have your own database somewhere. Okay, so again, I'm also using Prisma and Postgres, which is, I know a lot of chat apps don't use Postgres or kind of an SQL database, but they use NoSQL. So a lot of people use, Discord uses Cassandra, or used to use Cassandra, stuff like that. So, because it's more scalable. In our case here, if it's a self-hosted chat, I don't think it's going to be, let's say, heavily used by millions of users like Discord is or Slack is. And we don't need to do any more sharding or anything like that because there isn't like millions of users. But yeah, so that's basically the idea. So let's see, hopefully in the future, if we need to, we can probably change it, and we can put, potentially if we need to, we can switch it up. Also, I'm using Prisma as an ORM, so Prisma is a really good tool. Prisma is a really good tool to be used for, access to database and everything. It's clean. I like it. I've used all the different ORMs. Like I've used Type ORM, and I've used SQLite, I believe. SQLize, yeah. So I've used SQLize before. I've used Type ORM, but they're not really that useful. They're good. I just didn't like it. SQLize, I found that it was a pain to do TypeScript with it. I think it's built in JavaScript, but they might have updated it. This was years ago. TypeORM has good support for TypeScript. It's built with TypeScript, but I didn't like the syntax so much. But Prisma had everything in store for me, right? It had like the migration, data migration, or the structure migration. Everything it had it built in, right? So you don't have to do anything. And we're gonna use that hopefully in the production later if we want to do like an updated version. So every time you release a new version, we're just gonna run the new migrations, and we're gonna let Prisma take care of that for us. Okay, so since we have everything, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put up the terminal here, and I'm going to try to use as minimum as possible of like third-party packages, okay? So Bun comes up with a lot of packages already built in, or a lot of features built in, like the WebSockets, like the HTTP server is built in, and it's like, it's pretty good. So we don't have to use stuff like Express and, Socket.io or anything like that. They probably have features there that we don't have here, but we can see how far we can get without using anything like that. Okay, so if we use, let's see here. So what we're gonna do, just gonna pull up some quick start for Bun. So I already installed Bun, and if you want to install it, you're just gonna have to run, I believe, a command called curl. Somewhere here. Let me actually zoom in because I don't know if you can see everything. Yeah, hopefully this is a little bit better. So you can run this command. It's curl with bun.sh/install. And basically what this is going to do is going to install Bun for you on your computer. Okay, I'm running on a Mac, so it might be a little bit different on Windows. I think they have a trial version on Windows. Sorry, an experimental version on Windows. Okay, So what we want to do is we want to probably switch to the back end here first. And on the front end, we're just going to use React. And I'm just going to build a single page application to do the chat for us. But, hopefully we'll see where that goes. Okay, so on the back end here, we're going to do bun init. That way we can instantiate a package. Let's do bun init dot. Let's see if that works. I can index.ts. And let's see if that's good. Yep, that's good enough. Okay, so we have our index.ts here. That's pretty good, and we got everything ready. So what we're gonna do is I like to have an src folder. So we're just gonna do an src. We're gonna move that there, and in the package of this JSON, we're gonna put .src hash. Okay, very nice. And now, lastly, what we can do is we can add a scripts tag here, script, and we're gonna run a dev script. So the dev is just gonna do bun -- hot run index, or sorry, slash in this src slash index.ts. So the hot tag is basically going to view if anything changes for us, and it's going to basically reload the module that it's hard reload basically. So what we're going to do here is the bottom, we're going to go bun run dev. It's going to run that for us, right? And every time we change this, and we're going to say 222 save, you see it automatically reloads and it's pretty fast. Okay, that's good. That's for the backend. So in the backend, we'll build a simple WebSocket, okay, and then we'll go from there. Right now, the first phase, let's do without a server, without persisting any data. So we're gonna build multiple, handling multiple WebSockets and sending messages between them, and then we're gonna see where we go from there. Okay, so if we want to build on Bun here, a WebSocket, so what we're gonna need is bun.serve. Okay, so that's basically the function to run a server for us, basically. Okay, so we're gonna run a fetch request here, and a fetch function. It's automatically gonna receive a server and a request itself. Okay, and then on this fetch here, let me just look at their update, like their documentation, what they're saying basically. Okay, so basically what we have to do is once we get, so the way WebSockets work, and again, I've never worked with WebSockets, but I have an idea. So the way that WebSockets work is you send a request, an HTTP request, and then the server has to upgrade it. So it's going to send a one-on-one request to upgrade the request from an HTTP to WebSocket to keep the TCP connection open. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically upgrade the request to WebSocket. Okay, so we're going to say if server.upgrade request. Okay, then we're going to return, else return a new response. So the way they did this HTTP server on Bun, I think is pretty cool. I like the idea of, it's a built, let's say the native fetch specification. So it's a request response kind of thing. So we can do upgrade failed, and we can send a status 500. Okay, so the idea here, and we're seeing a lot of issues here. Let's see, what is the issue? Let's do WebSocket. All right. I think this is not declaring the messages. We'll go in there a little bit. So what we're doing here is we're receiving a request first, so this function, and we're gonna say that server.upgrade request. So we're gonna upgrade it, okay? And basically what this is doing is that it's gonna return a Boolean, and if it's either true or false, right? So if it succeeded or fails. So we're saying if it's successful, then just return. We don't need to return anything. If it fails, then we're gonna say upgrade failed, and then we're gonna go into this WebSocket. So in this WebSocket, we have 4 different statuses. So we have message, we have open, we have close, and we have drain. Okay. So if we look at all of them, do this, and we'll do WebSocket. So all of them automatically receive as the first argument the WebSocket itself. That's sending the whatever the event is. And then there's something else that could be or could not be received depending on the request. And then we have this. Okay. So the message, for example, we automatically get a message, obviously. The open, it doesn't get anything. It's just going to get the WebSocket. The close, it's going to get the WebSocket code and message. Okay. And drain is just going to receive the WebSocket. So I'm not remembering this by heart. This is really on their documentation. So if you want to really know what's happening, you can go in there and read more about it. Okay, so what do we have to do now? So one option we can do is we can say, you know, as a start here, we can say WebSocket dot send, and then we're gonna send the message. Okay, so this is gonna send back the message to the same user. So this is really just sending back the same message, right? So WS is the WebSocket. It's going to send the same message that we received already from the user. Okay. Another option we can probably do to keep this a little bit better. So they already implement a pub sub model directly within Bun, so that's really useful as well. But what we can do now is we can just build a simple thing. So what we can do is we can say on open. So anytime someone opens up a connection, okay, so we're going to do WebSocket.subscribe, okay, and we're going to say general chat. Okay, so as soon as someone signs up, automatically we subscribe to the general chat, okay? And then when someone sends a message, we're going to say wsend.publish to the general chat. And we're going to pass, we're going to put in some type of message, okay? So we're going to put in the message for now. Okay, so the publish, subscribe, or pub sub, basically what it's going to do, the publish is going to publish to everyone in that general chat, except for the user itself, the WebSocket that is sending the publish itself. Okay, so I think this is a good start here. What we can do is we can build in a little bit of the front end, and we can go from there. Okay, so let's see here, is our backend running? So we should be good here. Let's do a port 16.9. Okay, and then let's see if there's any other callback function here. Is there? On okay, so we can pass in, we can put in some host name or something like that. Enough. Let's do const port equal 6969, and we're gonna put in the port here, and then we're gonna do console.log listening to port. Okay, so listening to port 6969. And that way we have, you know, that way we have some type of indication that we're listening. Okay, so let's go back to the front end now. So what we're gonna do in the front end, we're gonna add a new terminal. Okay, we're gonna go to the front end. So you can separate this into multiple packages if you want. I just like the idea of having one for everything. Make sure that we have okay. All right, I'm just checking if there's anything on the chat. Nope, we're good to go. Okay. Run. Okay, so what we want to do on the front end now. Let's see if there is a way to run React. React app. So I usually use Next.js, but in this case, I want to build like a very simple one-page application. So one thing that funnily enough, I've never actually tried because I've been using React and Astro is Vite. So we can probably use Vite in here. Okay, so the Vite. I'm just finding like a simple command line that we can use. I have to use beta. So let's say bun. Let's see if Bun has anything that can run React for us as a bundler. I don't know if that is something that they have. They should. React. Okay, so automatically it uses React and JSX with Bun, which we can do right away. But I'm not sure if it works as a bundle. Like, how do we run the bundler for it? Refer to runtime JSX for complete documentation, figuring stuff. Okay. So I'm seeing something in this log rocket blog. Try it out since we're never done this. So Bun create React, and then we're gonna call it a name. Call it nothing. Bun create React, and the app is going to be called on chat. No, could not determine executable to run for package create React. All right. Maybe not. We don't. Maybe we can. You know, I'm gonna have to look into this later to see how we can install Vite. But what we can do now is we can just run npm init vite latest, and we're just gonna call it Bun chat, and we're gonna do -- template react ts, and that should have, there we go. So basically we're using vite to run React for us. Okay, so there, and let's see if we have package.json, have dev. We're gonna do npm run dev. And run dev, why it's not working. Message file directory. We're in the front end. Add, so it automatically puts it in this second folder, so we don't need that. So I'm just gonna move it there. Okay. Crash. Run dev. All right. I don't think it installed everything, so we're just gonna install to have vite and everything in there. Okay. Let's see. So you see how npm is a lot slower than what a lot slower than Bun basically, but let's see here. So npm run dev, we should have vite running, and it's running on 5173. Localhost 5073. We should have it running. There we go. Okay. So the idea here is I've usually used Next.js and Gatsby and other things like Astro, whatever. So all of them have a very simple system that you have files. They call it file-based routing. So basically you have /pages folder or directory, and then inside you have like home, about, whatever, right? So you have all these different pages, and then it just renders them directly. So the way React single page application works is that you have to register each route yourself, which I kind of don't like because I got used to the other way. So what we can do is we can change this single page application to make it run, in a nicer kind of file-based routing system. Okay, so we can write it up ourselves. There's actually a tutorial, really good one. I can send it to you after. It's from Omar al-Hawari, something like that. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, this is Bun chat, so we're gonna change to the front end. We're gonna npm install React router DOM. Okay, so this is the router that we're gonna be using. Okay, and then in the source folder, we're gonna add another file. We're gonna call it routes.tsx. Okay, so this folder here, I'm just gonna copy this to from his tutorial. Global eager is deprecated. Okay, see about that later. So basically, this is gonna give us some values like this. Okay, so it's gonna go in this src pages folder. So let's look here at pages as an index.tsx, whatever, and then select something like that. Okay. And then we can use this to map methods to iterate over the routes. Basically, all of this is in his tutorial. So if we look at it over here together. Oh, where did it disappear to? Right, there we go. So in his tutorial, there's, a step-by-step kind of thing. I've never tried it before, but I've always wanted to, so this could be a good opportunity to pull it on the other screen here so we can work at the same time. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna install these routes, and then gonna give us that object for us, which is gonna look, with these records in there, and then we're gonna do guy here. So the route, we're gonna loop through all of them for us, and we're gonna replace the path. Basically, we're gonna get the paths for us, right? And this is gonna give us this object here, which has a path and a component for each one. Okay. You transform each file path into corresponding URL by replace method. Da, 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 da. So now what we can do is we can do this. So we're gonna export the routes, which is going to give a switch for us in here. All right. And we import that guy. Did we install? Yes, okay. So what we're gonna do is import something from React router DOM. We're gonna find a switch. Oh, okay. React router. Just the setup that takes a little bit longer, but once we get this done and running, we should be good to go. Hmm. We can probably simplify this a little bit more. So what we can do is in this app folder, delete all of this stuff for us here. We don't need it. Probably also. Okay. Let's go here. Just checking because I think that one was a little bit outdated because it has that globe eager function that is deprecated. And honestly, I'm just copy pasting because I don't really care about the front end as much as I care about the back end. So I'm just trying to figure out like a way to have everything set up for us in a clean and nice way so we don't have to worry. So we can do route. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to find all the pages that have, that are in the pages directory here. We can probably change this to TSX. And then it's going to find the route for us. Basically this function here that's going to loop over all the paths. Basically all the pages is going to generate all the paths for us. Okay. And then what we're going to do, if there's no file name, of course, we're going to continue. And then there's this, close this guy here. Normalized path here is because we're going to have to include this $sign. So it's, the path is slash pages slash index, or dashboard or profile slash ID. Okay. Something like this. And then we're going to say routes.push. Okay. So we're going to update this routes for us. All right. Then all we have to do is we don't need this app anymore, to be honest. So we're going to just do this. And then we're going to export default. Okay, let's see if that is good enough for us. There in something. We didn't create the router here. Let's create the router first. The router is going to map through the routes that we created, and then we're just going to go over them. Okay. Obviously, there's some TypeScript errors, so let's see what it is. Object unknown, of course. We don't need this. Well, we're going to delete it later. Okay. This one here, we can remove for a second. And let's go to pages and let's create dashboard.tsx. Let's create about.tsx. And we're going to do RFC. So this is a shortcode that I don't have because of the different profiles. So we're going to do React. This is a good good extension to have, because you can go in here, do RFC, which is going to automatically create for you a page. Okay. So if we do something like this and we go into dashboard and we do RFC and we do dashboard, you can have a simple thing like this. And let's see, is it refreshing for us? Yeah, it seems like this. So let's go to /about /dashboard. Are we forgetting something here? For each path, we're doing all of this. We're normalizing. Oh boy, okay. Console.log pages. Here we go. Okay. I think we're missing something. Let's see, what are we missing? Stacked up folder, which is a pages folder. We have the pages folder. About dashboard. Good to go. Router provider. Passing in a router. Find the element. Their boundary is path. Oh. There we go. Okay. We go about, it's gonna find about, and if we go home, it's gonna find nothing because we don't have anything at home. Okay, that's really all I wanted to do, so we're good there. So what we're gonna do is in the pages folder, we're gonna add another one here. We're gonna call it index.tsx. And that will also be rc. Okay, there we go. So what we can do now is we can set up our routes to automatically use the file system. Okay, go about, like I said before, it's gonna find this about page. This way we don't have to keep registering routes manually. And we just modify this pages folder for us and we should be good to go. Okay. Again, there's some TypeScript issues here that I don't really want to get into it now because, like I said, I don't care about the front end as much. But we can take a look at it later. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is main.tsx here is gonna import our index CSS. So I'm just gonna copy everything here, and what we're gonna do, actually, I'm gonna delete that. And app.tsx is useless. It's trash. Main.tsx just has this, that's fine. Do some cleaning, and index.tsx, we're gonna keep it because we ever need to add anything here. Even though we're gonna actually install Tailwind, so that should be good to go. We don't need this, and we got the pages done, and we have assets done, which also we don't really care about right now. Okay. So let's build a simple thing on our index page. Okay, so what we're gonna do is all right, I'm just checking the chat if we got anything. Okay, so really what we have to do here is we can do a simple, let's call it messages. So we're going to do a div here that has a class name of messages. Okay, actually we can probably make ID. And inside of this guy, we're going to put this is a fake message. Okay, and then we're going to put in an input of type. Let's keep it clean. So we're going to do a form and has an input and it has a button. And the type is going to be text. Okay, and then we're going to use some state here. So use state. Give me message and then the set message. So this state is just going to store our message currently, whatever we're writing. And then we're going to make another one, which is going to say messages. So this is what we receive, and set messages. which is going to be an array of strings. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, here's the form, and on submit, we're going to do on submit, or let's call it handle on submit. This is a function that we're going to have to define. So we're going to say const on submit. Okay, we're going to receive an event here, which is type of event react.form handler, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's see whatever that event is. I'm just copying this because I don't really remember everything by heart. Okay, so we're going to do e.prevent default. So we're going to do prevent default because as soon as you submit, it's going to send a post requesting and refresh the page. So we don't want it to do that. Okay. Obviously, we can return multiple objects. So we're going to do wrap everything in a fragment. And we should be good to go. Now, this button says send. And it's going to be type submit. Okay. So if you look at our form, which is a really ugly form here. Okay, apps.css. We still haven't removed that guy. Why? Oh, that's great. All right, so before we even do this, let's say install Tailwind. Let's install Tailwind because I think that is a really beautiful way of doing CSS. Okay, to install Tailwind, npm install -d. D for development, so we're going to do Tailwind CSS, post CSS, auto prefixer. Okay, so what that's going to do is going to install Tailwind, post CSS and auto prefixer. So these is extra packages that we have to install alongside Tailwind, and they basically do tree shaking. So they're going to remove any kind of packages that we don't need, and we're going to do npx Tailwind CSS init. And basically that is going to run, and it's going to run us, it's going to basically create all the files that we need. Tailwind. Okay, now if we look at the Tailwind config, we should have content here. Okay, so the content is basically going to find our files and is going to modify them. Okay, so we're going to do, this is an array, so it's an array of strings. First string is going to be the /src/, where's our index? Actually, no. Right away, /index.html, because index is on our base folder. And then we're going to run /src/**. So basically, we're going to find everything there, /*. So everything in the subfolders as well. Okay. And we're going to make sure that anything that runs with TS or TSX. So we can run JavaScript as well, but in this project, I'm not really doing any JavaScript, so I don't really care. And lastly, what we can do is we can go to our index.css. Again, all of this here, we don't really need, I believe. I'm going to delete it, and I'm just going to install Tailwind stuff. Okay, so it's going to import Tailwind stuff in here. All right, good to go. So I'm going to stop the server, and I'm going to run it again. And we should be good to go. This is going to look ugly now because there's literally no styling at all. So what we can do, actually Tailwind removes all the base style. So what we're going to do is go to this, index page, and let's install some class name here to test that it's working. We're going to do text-3xl font bold underline There we go. So everything is working exactly how we wanted it to be. Okay. So because that's the case, so we're gonna run in the nothing is running there. Main.tsx running there. So what we're gonna do, go in the index here. We're gonna run main, make it our wrapping component. Okay. We're gonna run a class name, and we're gonna do flex justify center. Okay. And then we can also do flex column, make everything on top of each other, and we're going to do align middle, I believe. Align items, items center. Okay, should be good to go there. And then lastly, we're going to go to this input. We're going to do a class name. So we could probably move this into its own component at some point. But for now, I really care that much. And then on this form, we're going to do a class name of margin y of 5. Push it a little bit down. And then we're going to say probably this can move up here. Excellent. I'm making everything bigger so you can see what's happening. Okay. And let's also open the terminal or the console here so we can look what's going on. Okay, so what we're going to do now is every time we're going to send a message, we're going to hopefully receive it again, and then we can open the same browser in multiple instances to see all the WebSockets interacting with each other. So right now, if we have send, it's going to come here, and we're going to say console.log message sent, and we're going to receive e dot. Actually, we don't need that because we store the messages there. So we're going to say okay. So what we're going to do here in this input, we're going to say value is message. So we're making this component into a controlled component. Then on change, we're going to receive e, which is going to say set message to e dot target dot value, or of course nothing, I believe. Oh, no, sorry. This is fine here. What we need to do is we're going to say message or nothing because it could potentially make an error there. Okay, so we're going to do this and it's sent. We're going to say message sent, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, message sent, blah, blah, blah. So that's going to basically receive our message for us. And then what we can also do is we can say set message to be undefined. So basically we're going to clear it afterwards. For now, I'm not going to clear it because I don't want to keep writing the same thing for testing. All right, now what we want to do is we want to open up a WebSocket for us, okay? So what we can do is open up a WebSocket. Let's see. We're just trying to find the simple syntax that we can do. I believe there is a simple way to find it. I've written this before at some point. And I'm just trying to find where it is. So when we're doing our WebSocket, we just have to make sure that we're not running it multiple times. Otherwise, we're going to have a multiple open connections, right? So there are libraries that would help you with that with React. At this point, I don't think it's useful because, like I said in the beginning, I'm trying to use as little as possible of like third-party packages. Hopefully, this way we can actually um, learn everything at the base level, right? We don't need to run extra packages to do this basic stuff. Okay, so I believe there's a package React use WebSocket or something like that. But again, it's an overkill for the most basic things. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, so if we go to our index for now, we can later kind of move this into a separate kind of global context to have the WebSocket live. But for now, let's do a simple one. So you're going to do const socket equal new WebSocket. Okay, and then we're just going to pass it some URL. So we're going to do WebSocket / localhost 6960. That's the localhost that we built earlier. That's going to give us our socket in here. Okay. So what we're going to do, so socket is basically always listening for messages, or everything is event driven, let's say. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we can say socket.send, and we're going to send in our message. So if we have, say if no message, return. This way we make sure that there's always a message. Okay, and then we also disable this one here. Click disabled. There is no message. Okay, so if there's no message, this is disabled, so we don't send any empty messages. And then we're gonna move this down here. Okay, and this way we're gonna send a message. Now, if we receive a message from the socket, what do we have to do? Okay, so we have to listen for an event that comes from the socket. Okay, so if we do, we can probably run our event listener inside a use effect. Okay, so use effect, snippet, and then we're gonna run some sort of event listener here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we say, actually, let's import use effect first. Right, so we're gonna do socket dot on message, and basically on message is gonna run anytime the server sends us a message. Okay, and gonna send us some type of EV. Okay. Actually, we can probably make this into a function like this. It's nicer. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say const data is equal to ev.data. Okay, and we're going to console.log the data. Right? We can also run this guy to have it based on the socket like this. All right, so hopefully now if we look at our guy here and we look at the network tab, refresh, we should open a connection with the backend. Okay, so if we look at all localhost, so you see here with the localhost, it says connected, and we sent a request and we received back a 101 switching protocol. So this is basically returning to us a connection to the WebSocket. Okay, so if we send any message here, so let's say hello world and send, you see it sends the message, but it does not receive it, right? However, if we open this in a separate browser, we say whatever, we send something. Second, double check that what we're doing is correct. So we're doing EV data and we're doing this. And on our backend, we got everything running. Actually check what we're doing in the backend. So anytime they receive a message in the backend, let's do a quick console.log server. And we're going to run in our message here. Okay, so anytime we receive a message, I want to send that message. And yeah, okay, so we're receiving this and then we're receiving this, which is good. And that's good here. And then this guy. So let's say 111 is sending a message. Don't need this. Let's close it up a little bit. On message data console.log data. That's good here. And giving 1111. Oh, are we publishing it in the package in there? On message websocket.publish general chat, and we're putting in the message, which is good. Okay. 222. Let's refresh this guy. Let's refresh this guy to make a new connection. 1 send 2. They're both sending the correct messages. Okay. So the issue is, let's see here. So when we're opening, we're subscribing to general chat, and then we're also general chat, and we're publishing using that method. It could be that this is using the same browser. So let's actually open up a new incognito. We're going to send 3333. Okay, that was sent. But the other ones did not receive them for some reason. Okay, so we can probably fix that. Let's see here. So when we're subscribing, we're receiving the message and we're sending the publish, the topic and the data. That's fine. Then here, what we're doing is on message, socket dot on close on open. All fine and good. Be good enough. Let's see. So we're gonna say socket dot on open. Console.log socket open. Okay, so it's not going to run, of course, because that socket is running outside. So actually, here's a good way we can do this. We can probably move this into the use effect here. Okay, and we can run this return socket.close. And that way we can close the socket. Okay. This way we make sure that this code runs as soon as we open the page, it's going to run the socket and it's going to connect to it. And that way we have a better kind of separation of concern. The socket open 1111 send. I'm gonna send the socket is not defined, of course. Okay. Socket is not defined. Well, oh, of course it's not defined because this handle event doesn't have access to the socket, right? So we can, let's see, I've actually never done this. So let's see if we do state and we do socket, and it's going to be a type of web socket. Would that work? That's socket of socket. That would be very interesting. Then socket would be for socket. Message sent 1111 222. Message sent 22. Is that guy receiving them? Yeah, he is receiving them. Okay, so everything seems to be working. The only issue is they're not communicating, right? So they're communicating to the server. The server is not able to communicate or publish back to them. So what we can do is let's take a look if there's something that we need to return. So the server is broadcasting incoming message to everyone. Subscribe on open. Okay, let's go back to the server for a minute. And let's see here. So once this is open, so as soon as we open any WebSocket, we're going to send this. We're going to do a const message here. Just say a user has entered chat. Okay. So we're going to subscribe to the general chat, and then we're going to do ws.publish this message, right? A user has entered the chat. And actually, we're going to send the general chat this message. Okay, and then we're going to do the same there, all right? So let's see if that works again. So we're going to refresh this guy. Socket opened. Problem is we're not listening to these. So all we have to do is probably reference them correctly. It could be that this event is not correct on, because this socket.send is okay. This one is socket.on message. Try something else. Try this. Try socket dot on. That work? Add event listener. Probably the same thing. So let's see which one works. It could be that something with console.log. Nope, so it's sending us a socket open, but it doesn't send us back anything. Yeah, socket. So I believe I know what's happening. So the problem could be that this is um, okay. We're subscribing to this event listener, right? And the problem is this is running before I believe the socket is opened or something like that. Let's double check to make sure that we're right. And so socket.open, socket on message, message received, and then we're gonna hopefully console log that data. Console log the refresh. Should have received that message because we're automatically publishing a message that says the user has entered the chat. Okay. Look here. Okay, we can actually also add in a close thing here. Say on close. The user has left the chat. We can say unsubscribe from the group chat, and then we can also publish in the group chat this message to say a user has left the chat. Okay. This way we have, I don't think we need drain for now. This is pretty clear. So we open, we send, we subscribe to the general chat. Oh, sorry. Did I call it group chat here? General chat. General chat. So if we refresh this browser and browser, This is the client script that connects to the socket server. In the first example, it connects to the connection event, blah, blah, blah. If your example, you're doing this from the server, your service that route based on the on connection message. The issue is something to do, I believe, with React. Something to have to, something's not right in the logic, right? It's not React itself is wrong. It's just my logic is wrong because I'm running it in the use effect. And something is not, I believe, is not correct there. Okay, I'm just taking a look at the best way to have this running correctly. And actually, what if we change it from this crap that we're doing with the use state? We could probably use a reference, right? Use ref and we call it WebSocket. We keep it empty and we put in a WebSocket. Then instead of this, we're gonna do WebSocket.current equal to a new WebSocket. Okay, and then we're gonna do WebSocket.current. This way we make sure that we don't copy it into a different state. We actually use the exact reference. I think that's why it wasn't working. Let's check if it's true. I could be wrong. Dot on open. Open. Go to this stuff here. And we can probably make it a one-liner. I know people don't like this a lot, but and we can probably run the same thing here. On close, it is closed. All right, so we're gonna return something. So that return is going to be, this is gonna be a cleanup function. So we're gonna always run do a simple ws.current.close. If that exists, then we're gonna close it. Okay. Now that's the main use effect that's gonna open the WebSocket. And then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna run another use effect because I don't want it to be middled with this one. Let's try it out here. Dot on message. Let's see if that works. It's closed and then it's opened. And let's run this guy. And open. All right, maybe not. Let's run another use effect. And what this second use effect is gonna do is basically gonna do this. We're gonna open one of them first. The second use effect is gonna say if there is no WebSocket, then return. Okay. That way we only run it once we make sure that there is a WebSocket that's open. And then we can do this, websocket.current.message. Okay. We probably don't need a cleanup. I don't care for now. And we can, do we need this? Maybe. Let's refresh this guy. Then let's refresh this. One. Oh, of course not, because that's not correct. So we're going to say WebSocket.current, WebSocket.current, and we can remove this function. Message received, and we're going to print the data. Okay, so let's refresh this page again. Let's do 111. Sending that message correctly, receiving it there correctly, but it's not receiving it on the browser. Something is not right. Message equal to json.parse data. Do we have to parse it? Maybe. We're opening and closing the connection, which is correct. The only issue is, for some reason, this shouldn't have been in a different function here, to be honest. Makes way more sense to be here. Okay, let's make a different example. Okay, so maybe what we're doing is let's do this. Let's do, when you receive the message, sorry, we're going to go to the server and we're going to say, as soon as we receive a message, okay, we're not going to publish anything. I don't care about that. We're just going to say ws.send. So we're going to send to the web server, to the WebSocket, a reaction to say hello. Okay. That way we can just double check why it's not. Okay. And then we're going to do ws.current.add event listener. We're going to add in a message. Okay, it's going to have an event that runs like this. And we're going to run console.log events.data. Okay. So again, running correctly, it's doing socket close, socket open, but for some reason, oh, there we go, actually. So it is sending it correctly. What was the issue with the pub/sub? So the problem is, apparently we have a problem with our pub/sub model that's doing this issue for us. It's not really receiving it, right? See message received, and just doing this. Console.log 1, 2, 2, 2. Let's see which one is actually running. Could be a different syntax. 2, 2, 2 is running. No, actually both of them are running. We should be good. We can close this so we make sure that this is both are working. And we can say console.log message received, and we're going to run tv.data. Okay, so we're going to say message received, hello world. Now we're, again, just talking to the same WebSocket. So we're not really sending it to a different WebSocket. We're sending it back to ourselves by receiving a different message. Okay, so what we can do instead, we can do a simple logic here. I kind of like the pops up model. Fortunately, for some reason, it's not working. WebSocket, we're going to open a WebSocket, and then we're going to subscribe and publish. And then on the message, we're going to publish. And then on the close, we're going to subscribe and publish. Could have worked for us. I don't know why it's not working. So let's see here. So let's remove this use effect since we made sure that that is working. So our problem isn't really the front end, apparently. Our problem is the back end. So if we go here and we say on open WebSocket.subscribe general chat, and then we're going to publish this message to the general chat. And then on every message we're going to send it to the general chat. Which ideally works, but the problem is when we do this, it should have sent to us one. What's up? No. Something's wrong with Bun's pops up. And it could be that I'm not doing something right, or it could be there's an error that we're missing. WebSocket user get authenticated. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Okay, so we're gonna ignore the pops up for now. We're gonna see everything else. So what we're gonna do is every time we receive a message, we're gonna do WebSocket dot. Can we get published text? Let's see what is published text. The message is to subscribers of the topic. Okay. Topic is general chat. And on open, as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're gonna send this. It's sent correctly. This guy is not receiving. Okay, let's move on because this is weird. I don't know why. All right, maybe not. So let's see. So what we can do, WebSocket, server WebSocket unknown. So what I'm gonna try to do instead of this publish model, which I wanted it to work, but for some reason something's not right. What we can do is we can do WS send, okay? So the issue here is, or not really an issue, but what we want to do is we want to find who else is online so we can send them this, okay? Publish, so we're opening, we're publishing, and we're I'm just gonna look a quick look at the documentation to see if we're doing something wrong. what's going on here? So we have publish is correct. Our message. Carbon publish. Good. Enable compression and compression. Easy peasy. Easy peasy, all of it is good. So what we got wrong, some things are not right with this WebSocket. So here's something we can do. We can say WebSocket open sockets. Okay, and every time someone opens up a connection, we're going to do open sockets dot push WebSocket. Okay, and then every time someone closes the connection, we're going to do open sockets dot find filter. Yeah, okay. We're going to do, there's some sort of ID on the WebSocket that we can find. Oh, we're going to have to implement that manually. Implemented. View ID. Okay. So what we can do is every time something is upgraded. Okay, let's see. So let's install a package. There's a package I really like. It's called Bun KSUID. So this is a really cool package that gives you unique IDs, but they're also sortable. Okay, so always use this. I use it at least instead of UUID because I don't like UUIDs that much and they look ugly, but this is really kind of clean and neat. So we'll get this guy. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna say anytime that there is a request, okay, we're gonna upgrade it. But when we upgrade it, we're gonna attach to it some data. Okay, that data we're gonna find some just random ID for now. Later on, it could be kind of a username or something, but for now, we're gonna say the const UID is wait. Can we do a wait here? Maybe. Let's see. KSUID dot random. Let's import KSUID. Does that work? Can we install packages like through this way? I believe it should be. ASUID. Oh, we should go there. Cannot find module or corresponding declaration. Oh boy. Remove. I installed it in the front end. I should have went back and on ID. Go to the front end and let's make sure that we do a bit of cleaning here. We need this button. So on the front end, okay. So now we have this guy. So we're gonna do await random. This is gonna give us this ASUID dot, and we're gonna do ASUID dot string. Okay, so that's gonna give us some random number when we when you upgrade the connection. Now all we have to do is anytime that we want to close the connection, we're gonna say const UID equal ws dot data dot e. A string. Let's see what is upgraded. We can probably add that guy over here. I believe they have a generic. Yeah, there we go. We can add that generic over here. We can say ID. Await expression only allowed inside async, of course. That work? Maybe. You know this guy is gonna. Okay, and we're gonna console.log ID. Load. All right, let's take a look. So when we open a connection, it's going to tell us which unique ID got closed. Okay, so all we have to do now is we're going to say open socket dot so all we have to do is remove basically from this array that we have here that we created that has all these different objects. Okay, so let's make sure that that is correct here. So we're going to say the type is equal to this. WebSocket here, and that's it. All right. So we can probably remove everything from the WebSocket, but what we can do is just do a simple open sockets. I'm sure there's a cleaner way where the WebSocket.filter.data.id is not equal to ID. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to clean up this guy for us. Not assign open socket is a constant. Make it a lit for now. Okay, not the greatest idea, but it's an idea. Okay, so instead of this publish and unsubscribe or whatever, we're gonna do it a little bit cleaner. So we can run a separate function here. Okay. Make a function says send to group. Let's call it send to everyone. We'll give it a message. It's a string. It's gonna do something. Okay, so what it's gonna do is gonna say open sockets dot for each. We're gonna doubly send dot send the message. Okay. This way, every time someone, I'm gonna remove this publish crap for now. Let's send to everyone this message. And then anytime someone sends a message, of course, we're gonna do send to everyone. Instead of this, I'm gonna do the message. Okay. I'm gonna do the same here. Let's do mess string or buffer. All right, and then also we're gonna remove this unsubscribe and publish. We're gonna do send to everyone message after we remove that user. Okay, so as soon as we come here, we say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're gonna send this message. Okay. Let's refresh both actually, because they just refreshed the server. All right, so this guy is gonna send 1111 send. Okay, so it's gonna receive it. Then this other guy is also gonna receive it. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is go on the front end, and simply because we just received all the messages, all we have to do is just render them correctly. Okay. So what we're gonna do is every time we receive a message, we're gonna do messages dot or set messages with the previous state, and the previous state dot push ev dot data. Okay, and we're gonna make sure can we put a generic in this ev message event string? That work on message as string. Basically what we're trying to do is we want to make sure that this data is always going to be the data of the message, type number, undefined design, sign of type string. They're giving us number. String array is going to give us this. So it's going to say constant message is equal to ev.data is a string, and we're going to push that guy here. We're going to return this. Let's do messages.map, and for each message, we're going to return, p with the message. Yeah. And we're going to say if there is no messages, so there's no message.length, and we're going to say p, get. Okay, we can probably remove these fake ones. Now let's just make sure that this is correct. So we're going to say prev.push message if previous, then do this, otherwise return to us this way. Actually, what we can do and make sure that there's always an array, so you don't have to do this weird logic. Okay, we know there's always an array of messages. Number is not assigned to type string. Well, we know that. Array. Argument of type previous return number, but we're not returning a number, buddy. Set messages, we're doing this. Where is the number, man? Figure it out in a minute. Oh, hey, the map does not function. Really? Messages. Ooh, you. Interesting. Messages.map is not a function. That is a weird statement. Oh. Impossible. Messages. Not read property of undefined push. Okay, where is the push happening? Of course. Messages yet, and then we're going to do this, which is going to send us this new message. But the problem is it's not pushing it, obviously. They're going to say for just an empty array message. What? Sol.log. Putting in a number for us. Why are we putting in a number? Oh. Why is push returning a number? Interesting. Okay. When you. Wow, this is becoming ugly. Messages equal to previous dot push. Oh, buddy. Okay. All right. Get this. Get this. Get this. Don't forget. We're gonna do run thread of messages of previous or an empty array, and the new message. Oh my god. Okay. There we go. So if we refresh, we're going to say user has entered the chat, which is us. Oh, we don't have key, so let's update our key here. So the key, oh, sorry, not here. For now, again, this is not ideal, but we're just going to do this. We're going to do key equal to I. So if we refresh this, we say user has entered the chat, which is not us, it's the other user actually. Refresh this. We have left the chat into the chat, left the chat into the chat. Okay, so if we send here hello from bug go, send. This guy receives it hello from making video. Okay, so we're gonna send here hello from main browser. And I'm gonna say hello from main browser, which this guy is gonna get hello from main browser. Okay, so they are basically contacting each other right now. And we're not sending it back to each other, we're sending it to the other user. Okay, which is good. So what we can do now is we can clear this. And we should be good to go. We can actually set up a few extra things here that I think will make it a lot cleaner. So we, instead of saving the messages as an array of strings, we can save it as an array of objects, right? And each array is going to have a data, or let's call it, yeah, let's call it data like this, and we're going to have a message, which is a string. And actually, we don't need even data this way. Just have this, right? We have a message, which is a string itself. And then we have is automated, which is a Boolean. Okay? So this way we know that the message that we're receiving is automated or not. Okay? So when we send a message from our browser, from our server, okay? So like here, send to everyone a message. Okay? We can probably send alongside. Instead of doing this, we can send some core data. Okay, so we can send, instead of this, we can send a message. We can send a message, which is the message. Okay, you can say is automated, which is, let's say, true for now, but we're going to change later. I think that should be good enough. So here's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so the idea is, you see how we have in the chat, we have this users enter the chat, user left the chat, and then also hello from incognito. Like these are the actual chats that we're receiving from the user. But all of this is automated, right? So I'm trying to make a distinction that if it's something that's been received from the computer, like an automated message, then we want to put it as, you know, a different highlight or maybe a different color. So we know that this is just an automated message. And then if someone actually sends something, then it would be a different color. Okay. Now, in order to do so, we're not going to just receive a message back and forth from the server. We have to actually send, let's say, an object, which is a buffer in this case, because we have to send in alongside the message some extra data. Okay. So when we send this function that we have on the server that says send to everyone, which does for us all the logic, what we're going to have to do is attach to it as well, okay, some data. Okay, let's just say some data, and let's say data here. Okay, to keep it consistent, we're going to just do send this data. Okay, so send to everyone has to be received like with this. It has to receive this data for us. Okay, the data. Well, let's make it like this. Let's make it always a message that is a string, is automated, which is a Boolean for now. Okay, and then we're gonna do data like this. Okay, I can do JSON.stringify this data. Okay, so every time we're going to send this message this way. So what we have to do now is every time we send a message, we're just going to provide the object instead. Okay, we're going to say message is message and is automated is true, for example. Okay, but when someone actually sends the message, then we're going to say it's not automated, so false, and we're going to send the message as well. And then obviously when someone leaves, then it's automated. So we're going to say it's true as an automated. Okay. So this way, we make sure that our everything we're sending is correctly identified on the front end. Okay, so sorry, I'm just gonna go call and then we'll get started. Okay, so now that we have this correctly identified, string buffer is not assignable to this. This is the data. Triangle. Okay, that's it. So that's all we have to do. Okay, now if we go to the front end, when we receive the data, we're just gonna say console.log. What is that new message? See what that looks like. Okay, so you see we receive this random object. Okay, so all we have to do is we do. Can we actually do? Call it data. Data.message. That work? More data. Oh, okay. So we have to do json.parse. Okay. And that will give us this object that has any. So what we're going to do, we're going to return this as a message, which is string, and is automated, which is a boolean. There we go. Okay. So now if we do this, we're always going to return data dot. We're just going to basically store all this for us. Okay. Perfect. Now all we have to do is actually, we can define this as a separate type. So we can say const type, let's call it interface message data, which is going to have a message component, which is a string. Then we have an is automated. Okay, so we're going to make sure that this is, instead of rewriting the type multiple times, we're just going to store it here, or here. So we're going to receive that data. And then we're going to say set message, and we're going to put that data in there for us. Okay. Now, all we have to do is, as we're looping through this, we're going to say message data dot message. Okay. Now, we're going to add in some conditions here. Okay. We're going to say class name. Okay. We're going to put in this guy here. We're going to say if the message data dot is automated, then we're going to do something, which is going to be font. Let's say tailwind font. Remember the exact syntax. So we're going to do text, I believe. What was it? Text. Find all our colors. Text slate 500. Okay. So if we look here, yeah, you see all of these are coming from the computer. And then if we send an actual message, this is a real user, then it's going to be a different color. Okay. So obviously these errors are going to go away in a bit. Just let's refresh. This is a real user. It's going to send the real one. If you look here, this guy is able to identify if this is something that came automated or if this is something that is coming from a real user. okay, which is a huge important thing to know when you're building something like this. This is user 2. Okay. Okay. Now let's make a last adjustment for today as well. And then we can continue this in a future stream, hopefully, if we can build or continue this project. So what we want to do is we want to register the user as soon as they log in. Okay. So when they are logging in, if there's no WebSocket open already with them, then we're going to ask them to put in their username. Okay. That should be easily done, hopefully. So what we're going to get is so what we want to do is as soon as we get a request, we're going to ask them for this username. So what we can do is we build a simple interface to say, go to the front end here, src, and yeah, let's stay on the same page for now. It's going to be an ugly page, but we can separate it later on, okay? I'm going to say a const, or let's say use state. Actually, we don't even need use state. Okay, we're not going to persist any data. We can persist it later to be able to refresh the browser, and it's going to be the same user. But for now, we're just going to do a simple one. Okay, we can say if there is no user interface, we're going to add a use state here, username, and it's going to be a string. Okay, and then we're going to say if no username, then return. Okay, username. Set user. So if there is no username, then we're going to return. We don't need to do anything. But if there is a username, then we're going to send data alongside our WebSocket. All right. We'll send in something later on. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna build a simple interface here, okay? So we're gonna do username here. Make sure that this is only gonna run if there's no username. And we're gonna say if no username, then we're gonna return a different thing, okay? So we're gonna return a different function. Again, I don't like doing it this way usually, but in this case, I'm just gonna build it in the same component. Usually it's much better to separate everything into multiple components. Okay, so we're gonna do start chat. There's gonna be username. Let's separate this into multiple lines. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in a label. This. Enter a username. And okay, give it a name here, username. And this is gonna be username. Or set. Okay. Start chat, which is gonna be there is no username, then we don't want username. All right, so this is gonna be handle start chat. A separate function that we're going to call if there is no nothing there. So we're going to, like in the beginning, so we're going to do const handle this guy, which is going to be really similar to this, not exactly this. Okay. There's going to be e.prevent default again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say set e dot target. Yeah, let's do this. Username field, set username field. And as soon as you submit this, we're going to say set username to be username field. And this is going to be username field and set username field. Okay, so what we're doing is we're sending an intermediate step here to save the username. And then as soon as we're done, they're going to save it. When that is saved, then we're going to create a WebSocket. Okay. So when we come here, it's going to say enter a username. So we're going to put in test username, and then we're going to say start chat. Which should, in theory, start this first. So on submit, submit. This guy is a button here that has this. Let's refresh. Obviously, nothing starts. Let's put something. Start. Okay, username is not working. Username, set username field. Then this guy is going to say console.log starting. When we do this, start the chat. Justify center, flex column. We don't really need. Console.log username. Of course, there's no username, so we're going to put in something. And why is that button not clickable? Am I right? Something is weird, man. If there's no username, then we're going to return flex center, item center. And enter username with a username text, last name border, blah, blah, blah. We got, oh, of course, right? There's no field. When we save, then it's going to say a user has entered the chat. Okay. Now, all we have to do is we got to say WebSocket send data. All we have to do, okay, when we're starting this, is we're going to send in that username alongside our WebSocket. So when we send this WebSocket to open it, we're going to also add in question mark username equal to the username. Okay, username. So this way we make sure that we are sending in our username alongside our request. Okay. Now on the server side, all we have to do is we're going to also attach. Now, every time we open a WebSocket, we're going to attach the username attached to that WebSocket. So we're going to add a username, which is a string. Okay. So anytime they receive a request, you're going to say const username equal to request dot let's see with Bun if there is a nice way to get that. Actually, I think there is. So if we do new URL with the request.url, const URL, then we can say URL.params, I believe, search params for username. URL has no call signature, no. Search. JavaScript params from. What was it? I don't remember it off the top of my head. I believe it's search params for new URL. Search params. We're gonna pass to it URL. URL. Search params dot get, and we're gonna pass it the user const. Oh, it's only. We're gonna say console.log name. Now, if we refresh this guy, we're gonna lose the user. We're gonna put 1, 2, 3. And it's gonna get null. Okay. Let's say console.log the request. You're getting a username. Okay, so what we're doing is I'm just trying to find a correct way. Sure, there is a million ways right now, but I'm just trying to find console.log search params. Gonna find for us object URL search params. We're gonna pass to it a request username. Username. Are we doing this correctly? No, that's correct. New URL request.url. And let's see what the URL has. Host name, path, blah, 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 path name. Search params. Does this return? Okay. Dot get const all this crap. There we go. So that's our username. Okay. So all we have to do now is attach that username alongside our ID. Okay. So this way we have a WebSocket and it's always an attached username. So anytime that we send a message, we're going to be sending, whenever you send a message, you're going to send a message which is going to be this template. Is going to be this message. And then you have to send in something, a username send this, right? So we're going to say websocket.data.username send this message. Okay. Now, whenever we send this, we say hello. Actually, let's refresh the server. Okay. Whatever this user is. So this is the name of the user, and he sent this message. Okay. So let's refresh again one more time. Let's refresh this guy. And we're going to say user2, enter the chat. This is user into the chat. So user1 says hello. User1 is going to receive it here as user1 said hello. Hello to you. I'm going to send back as user2 send this, okay? Which is going to send it here. Now we can also edit these things here to say which user joined the chat and which user left. So we can say here ws.data.username has entered the chat, okay, which is good. And then we can send also here has left the chat. Okay, there we go. That should be good to go. So we can say here user1 has entered the chat. Then this one here says user2 has entered the chat, right? So we can say hello from 1, and it's going to send us this guy. Okay, this is going to say hello from 2, and it's going to send us this guy. So now both of them are actually live communicating with each other through the server, but we're not persisting any data, right? So this way there's no authentication, there's nothing right now. All users can enter the chat and they can communicate to each other using WebSockets. Okay, so I'm just gonna clean up this console logs here that are just logging our place. So console.log, fine here. We don't need this one. We're in a good chat, and this one is and this one. Okay, and then if there's no username, then we're gonna get this page to put in a username. If not, then we're gonna send in this message. All right, so this is a good first step. Now that we have everything configured and everything set up, the next phases is going to be really for us to persist that data. Okay, so far we haven't put in Prisma yet or Postgres. So what we want to do actually before that is we want to do some authentication. Okay, so the next step is we just create a simple page like this, the page that we're using here, that instead of putting a username only, we ask for an email and a username, for example. Okay, and that way we can persist that data, and then we can actually store it in our database with a session ID or something, right? So that the user can actually refresh the page and they wouldn't be logged out because there's maybe we can store a cookie or something. And as soon as they click log out, then it would remove them from there and it would remove their session. But their chat would be stored in our database. Right now it's not, right? So right now it's just being sent, and if someone is already logged in, then they would receive it as well. Okay, the next steps are going to be a lot easier. And because we have all the structure set up, okay? So to recap it, what we have is a backend and a front end. And what we're gonna do is our front end looks pretty ugly right now, but we can fix that really quickly because we have Tailwind installed. So we can really just modify it as fast as possible. And we can actually send in, we can make it a lot prettier, but the focus here isn't really the front end design as much as it is the functionality itself. And then we can, like I said, we can get Prisma running on the backend. But notice how the code is really simple, right? With Bun, everything is pre-installed. So really don't have to do a lot. So if you notice with Bun, it just gives you a WebSocket server right away. And we're just doing this. This is the logic that we're doing for a whole chat app, okay? We're doing an open, and as soon as you open a chat app, as soon as you send a message, then you're gonna send it to everyone. And as soon as you close, you're gonna close that chat, basically, or you're gonna close that WebSocket connection. what we're gonna do is, like I said, persist data in DB. Actually, this would be here, persist data in DB, okay? And that way, if someone logs in later, they can still read the previous chat. So what we're gonna do here is as soon as someone opens the chat, we're gonna say retrieve previous unread messages from DB. Okay, so this way we're gonna retrieve again the same data, the messages that we have not received or we have not read, and we will put it here. And then if someone sent a message, then of course we're gonna do this. Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. And this second stage is a lot easier since we have the whole WebSocket connection running. Okay, however, we're gonna wrap it up for today, and we can go, hopefully later on this week, and we can continue this as well. Okay, so stay tuned and keep subscribing and everything so we can actually keep tracking this. Okay, and hopefully we can get this done in another section. Probably in the next session we can get majority of it done. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the future.